3 years with Audrey had been everything I had dreamed of until that dinner at Morton's Steakhouse. As I cut into my ribeye, she slid her phone across the table, displaying a luxury venue that took my breath away. Not from beauty, but from the price tag, $300,000. "This is what I want, Bernard," she declared, eyes glinting with determination. "A wedding like this, or no wedding at all." I set down my fork, my appetite vanishing faster than my savings would. Hey guys, if you are enjoying this story, drop a comment telling me where you are watching from, and hit that subscribe button. I grew up in a middle-class family in Minnesota, where my father owned a hardware store that had been in our family for 2 generations. My parents taught me the value of hard work and financial responsibility from a young age. During college, I worked at the store on weekends and holidays, learning the business from the ground up while earning my business degree. I met Audrey at a mutual friend's housewarming party in Chicago, where I had moved after graduation to take a job with a distribution company. She walked into the crowded apartment, wearing a blue sundress, and I swear time stopped. Her laugh carried across the room, and somehow I found the courage to offer her a drink. We talked until 3 in the morning, long after most guests had left. Our chemistry was instant, despite our different backgrounds. Audrey grew up in Chicago's North Shore, the daughter of a financial advisor who seemed to have connections everywhere. But she never came across as spoiled or entitled. We spent our weekends exploring the city, taking day trips to Lake Michigan, and cooking elaborate meals in my tiny apartment. We dreamed about eventually starting a family business together, something that would combine my practical experience and her marketing skills. After 2 years together, I spent 6 months saving for a 1.5-carat engagement ring. I proposed at Montrose Harbor, the spot where we had our first kiss. When I got down on one knee, Audrey's eyes filled with tears as she whispered yes before I could even finish asking the question. That night, as we celebrated with champagne, we talked about our future wedding. We both agreed it should be meaningful, but modest. A phrase I would later replay in my head countless times. The first sign something was changing came when Audrey subscribed to 5 different bridal magazines. At first, I found her enthusiasm endearing. She would show me photos of flower arrangements and cake designs, and I would nod along, happy to see her excitement. Then her childhood friend Jessica got married in the Hamptons. The wedding was featured in a regional lifestyle magazine, and suddenly Audrey's wedding vision began to transform. "Look at these centerpieces," she would say, showing me photos from Jessica's reception. And they had a 10-piece band, not just a DJ. Each new detail came with an unspoken comparison to our own plans. When we sat down to discuss our budget, I suggested $30,000 as our maximum. That was already stretching my savings, but I wanted her to have a beautiful day. "That sounds fine," Audrey said, but the slight downturn of her mouth told me otherwise. Still, she verbally agreed, and we started meeting with wedding planners. Each one showed us beautiful venues within our budget, but Audrey found fault with all of them. "The lighting is terrible for photos," she would say about one. "The parking situation is a nightmare about another." Meanwhile, I noticed her social media accounts filling with luxury wedding pages and high-end bridal designers. Her spending habits began to change, too. Weekly salon visits, new clothes with tags from stores I had never heard of, shoes that cost more than my first car. When I gently asked about these expenses, she would say, "I want to look my best for our engagement photos, or I have to dress the part at work if I want that promotion." Then came a tense dinner with her parents at their sprawling home in Winnetka. Her father, a commanding man with a perpetual tan and perfect teeth, mentioned helping with the wedding while refilling my whiskey glass. "We want our baby girl to have everything she deserves," he said, looking at me with an expression that felt like a challenge. I shifted uncomfortably, explaining that we had a budget in mind and wanted to handle things ourselves. My own parents had taught me never to rely on financial gifts that came with invisible strings. That night led to our first major argument about wedding priorities. Back at our apartment, Audrey accused me of being embarrassingly frugal and unwilling to celebrate our love properly. "Your father is trying to control our wedding," I countered. "And why are we suddenly talking about venues that cost more than a house down payment?" My best friend Marco warned me when I called him the next day. Classic bridezilla syndrome, he said. My cousin's fiancée was the same way. Started with the wedding then. It was the house, then the cars. They were divorced in 3 years with crushing debt. I laughed it off, but a seed of anxiety had been planted. Was the woman I fell in love with changing before my eyes, or had this side of her always been there waiting for a diamond ring to bring it to the surface? The Pinterest board appeared in my email, with a notification Audrey has shared. Dream wedding with you. I opened it during my lunch break and nearly choked on my sandwich. Every image screamed luxury ice sculptures, celebrity florists, destination venues. This was not the wedding we had discussed. That evening, Audrey's roommate let slip that they had been touring venues without me. Oops, was that supposed to be a secret? She giggled when she saw my expression. I confronted Audrey when she got home. I thought we were planning this together. I am just exploring options, she said, kissing my cheek. I want everything to be perfect when I show you. The perfect option turned out to be a historic mansion outside Chicago that catered exclusively to the ultra-wealthy. She revealed it to me during dinner at Morton's Steakhouse, sliding her phone across the table with the venue's website open. $300,000. I stared at the number, certain I had misread it. Audrey, that is more than my annual salary. That is a house. That is several college educations for our future kids. We only get married once, she said, reaching for my hand. If you really loved me, you would want me to have my dream day. That phrase hit me like a physical blow. If I really loved her. Was that what love meant to her? Bankrupting myself to fund a single day of celebration. Her father called the next morning. Audrey tells me you are having reservations about the venue, he said, his voice carrying the same smooth confidence he used with his clients. I spent 30 minutes explaining our financial situation, in detail, my savings income, future mortgage plans, retirement goals. I had spreadsheets, for God's sake. He listened politely, then said, Dreams do not fit in spreadsheets, son. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith for the woman you love. When Audrey came home that evening, she acted as if our financial discussion had never happened. The venue needs a deposit by Friday to hold our date, she said, while ordering takeout that cost more than I usually spent on a week of groceries. I tried again. Audrey, we cannot afford this. Not without going into serious debt. Tears immediately welled in her eyes. So your answer is no. You are saying, I cannot have the wedding I have dreamed about since I was a little girl. I am saying, we need a more realistic plan. I replied, hating myself for making her cry, but knowing this conversation was necessary. That was when the ultimatum came, right there, in the middle of an upscale restaurant with witnesses at every table. I want a wedding like this, or no wedding at all. I asked for a week to consider our options. That night I researched loans and second jobs, even though every financial instinct I had was screaming in protest. The numbers did not add up, no matter how I manipulated them. At 3 a.m, I was still awake, calculating and recalculating, when my phone buzzed with a text from Audrey. Have you decided yet? The pressure continued to mount. At work, I could not focus. At home, Audrey alternated between cold silence and emotional outbursts. I felt resentment growing where love had been. Was this a test? If so, what was the right answer? My mother has always been the practical voice in my life. When I called her, she listened without interruption as I explained the situation. Bernard, she said, finally, marriage is not about the wedding. It is about all the days that follow. My father was even more direct when he got on the phone. Marriage is a marathon, not a party, he said. If you are already fighting about money before the wedding, imagine what happens when you have a mortgage and kids. I was still processing their advice when Audrey's father called with a surprising offer. He would loan us the money for the wedding with interest. Think of it as your first investment together, he said, as if saddling us with debt was some sort of gift. The offer prompted me to do something I had not considered before I checked our credit reports. That was when I discovered Audrey's student loans, substantially larger than she had ever mentioned. Why had she hidden this from me? What else did not I know? My childhood friend Tyler reached out after hearing about my engagement through mutual friends. His marriage had ended in divorce after just 2 years. Financial incompatibility, he explained over beers. We never got on the same page about money. By the end, we could not even talk about buying groceries without fighting. Meanwhile, Audrey was posting cryptic messages on social media. Every woman deserves her dream day, and when you know your worth, you do not settle. Her friends commented with heart emojis and supportive messages, some taking veiled shots at me. I felt like I was being painted as the villain in our story. Then unexpectedly, Jessica, the friend with the Hamptons wedding, sent me a direct message. Audrey showed me the venue she wants, she wrote. I feel like I should tell you something. Alan and I are struggling. That wedding put us in debt we cannot climb out of. His parents remortgaged their house to help us. I would give anything to go back and do something simpler. The message left me stunned. The perfect wedding Audrey had been obsessing over was causing serious problems for the couple who had it. Before I could process this, my brother texted me a link to a bridal registry in Audrey's name. The items totaled over $40,000. She had created it without telling me. The texts from Audrey grew increasingly frantic. We need to put down the deposit tomorrow, and why are you doing this to us? When I suggested a compromise, a beautiful but more affordable venue, she shut it down immediately. You do not understand what this means to me, she wrote. This is non-negotiable. While searching for a document on our shared laptop, I discovered wedding vendor contracts in Audrey's email drafts. They were already filled out with our information, just waiting for signatures. She had been planning to move forward regardless of my concerns. On social media, her friends were now openly criticizing me. If he cannot give her the wedding she deserves, she should find someone who will wrote one. Another commented, financial compatibility is so important. Red flags everywhere. I felt isolated and questioned everything about our relationship. Had I misread her character so completely? The breaking point came on a Tuesday afternoon. My credit card company called about unusual activity, a $15,000 charge to a wedding venue I had never heard of. When I told them I had not authorized it, the representative informed me that the card was in Audrey's name as an authorized user on my account. I confronted her as soon as she came home. You put down a deposit without telling me. On my credit card, I knew you would say yes. Eventually, she said, dropping her shopping bags on the counter. I just moved things along to secure the date. You had no right to do that, I said, working to keep my voice level. We are supposed to make these decisions together. Oh, please, you were dragging your feet. Sometimes you need a little push. A push is different from financial betrayal. I said the word, feeling heavy but accurate. This is not just about the venue anymore. This is about trust. Her expression hardened. You want to talk about trust? Fine. I have been handling my finances just fine for years without your input. Really? Because I saw your credit report. Why did not you tell me about your student loans? $45,000 is not something you hide from someone you plan to marry. The color drained from her face, then returned in an angry flush. You had no right to check my credit. That is private. Nothing is private when you are planning to share a life, and apparently you have been keeping even more from me. I held up my phone, showing her credit card statements. The balances were staggering. Designer clothes, spa treatments, weekends away. I knew nothing about. That is my business, she snapped. Everyone has some debt. You are being petty and unromantic. In that moment, something shifted inside me. All the doubts and concerns crystallized into clarity. We did not just have different ideas about a wedding, we had fundamentally different values about money, honesty, and partnership. I cannot marry someone who goes behind my back on financial decisions, I said quietly. If you need a $300,000 wedding, or there will not be a wedding at all, then I guess there will not be one. Audrey's eyes widened. She pulled her engagement ring off and threw it across the room. Fix this by tomorrow, or we are done, she hissed. I looked at the ring on the floor, then back at her. I think we already are. She grabbed her purse and stormed out, shouting that she was going to her parents' house. After she left, I sat in the sudden silence of our apartment, feeling a strange mixture of heartbreak and relief. My phone rang at midnight, Audrey's mother berating me for upsetting her daughter and demanding I make things right immediately. The next morning, I woke up with a clear sense of purpose. If this relationship was truly over, I needed to protect myself from further financial entanglement. I visited my bank first thing, removing Audrey as an authorized user on all accounts and checking for any other unauthorized charges. Next, I drove to the venue she had selected and asked to speak with the manager. The woman's sympathetic expression told me she had seen similar situations before. I never authorized this charge, I explained, showing her the credit card statement. I was not present when this deposit was made, and I did not sign any paperwork. She initially cited their no refund policy, but when I calmly explained that I would dispute the charge with my credit card company and potentially involve legal action for fraud, her resistance crumbled. "I will process the refund today," she said. "It will take 3 to 5 business days to appear on your statement." On the drive home, I called the few other vendors who had pending contracts and canceled everything. My brother called offering his guest room until things blow over, but I wasn't sure anything would blow over this time. My phone bombarded me with texts from Audrey, each more angry than the last. "You canceled the venue, and how dare you humiliate me like this?" Her father's call came next, his smooth voice now sharp with threats about legal consequences for the canceled contracts. I called a lawyer friend who assured me I was within my rights to dispute charges I had not authorized. "Keep all documentation," he advised, "and do not engage in arguments over text or email. Everything is discoverable if this gets ugly." That afternoon, I packed Audrey's belongings carefully in labeled boxes. In the process, I found shopping bags hidden in the back of our closet, still containing merchandise with tags attached. The receipts inside showed thousands in unpaid store credit card balances. The hardest part was notifying our closest friends that the engagement was off. Most expressed shock, having seen only the happy couple we presented to the world. A few confided they had noticed Audrey's changing behavior but had not wanted to say anything. I composed a lengthy email to Audrey, explaining my decision. I emphasized that I loved her, but could not begin a marriage with such fundamental disrespect for shared decision-making and financial transparency. Her response came 3 hours later. Her parents would pay for everything. I just needed to apologize and we could move forward. But I knew the issue went deeper than who would pay. It was about how we viewed marriage itself, as a partnership or as a fairy tale. I declined her offer. After that, silence. For 48 hours, no calls or messages came from Audrey or her family. Following my lawyer's advice, I changed the locks on our apartment, which was in my name only. That night, I sat alone, surrounded by half-empty closets and shelves, wondering how someone I thought I knew so completely could have been hiding so much. Exactly 72 hours after I canceled the venue, my phone rang with Audrey's mother's number. Expecting another tirade, I almost did not answer. When I did, her tone shocked me. "Bernard," she said, her voice quivering. We need to talk to you. About Audrey. About everything." The hostility had vanished, replaced by something that sounded like desperation. She asked if I would meet with them, not to pressure me, she insisted, but to explain some things I deserved to know. What she revealed shook me. The family's apparent wealth was largely an illusion, maintained by massive debt. Her husband's financial advisory firm had been struggling for years. The luxury cars were leased, the beautiful house was underwater on its mortgage, and their credit cards were maxed out. Audrey grew up watching us pretend. Her mother confessed, tears in her voice. We taught her that appearances matter more than reality. She learned from us that you can spend your way into the life you want people to think you have. Her voice broke. We failed her. And now she is failing in her relationships because of it. She told me about Audrey's childhood designer clothes, bought before school shopping while bills went unpaid, lavish Sweet 16 party, followed by their electricity being shut off. Pattern after pattern of prioritizing status over stability. She needs help, Bernard. We all do. But she loves you, and I think deep down she knows you are the best thing that ever happened to her. My emotions were mixed. Compassion for the family's struggles, anger at the deception and lingering love for the woman I had wanted to marry. I agreed to a meeting with Audrey and both sets of parents at my parents' home in Minnesota. The gathering was tense at first. Audrey sat with arms crossed, defensive and hurt. Her father seemed diminished somehow, his confident facade cracked. When my father gently asked why a wedding needed to cost so much, Audrey burst into tears. Because everyone expects it, Jessica had the perfect wedding, and everyone talked about it for months. All my friends are getting married in amazing venues with famous photographers. I just wanted, she sobbed. I just wanted everyone to think I was special too. The honesty of that moment broke through my anger. I reached for her hand. You are special. To me, without spending hundreds of thousands we do not have. I am so embarrassed, she whispered. I got carried away with this fantasy, and I hurt you. I betrayed your trust. My father, always practical, offered to help Audrey's family connect with a financial counselor he knew. To my surprise, her father accepted immediately, admitting they needed help. As for us, Audrey and I agreed to postpone any wedding plans indefinitely. I took the engagement ring back, not to reject her completely, but to keep it safe, until we had rebuilt what was broken. If we do this, I said, looking her in the eyes, there have to be conditions. Complete financial transparency, counseling both couples and financial, and a complete reset on priorities. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I will do whatever it takes. I do not want to lose you. The drive home alone that night was painful. Had I made the right choice in leaving the door open, or was I setting myself up for more heartbreak? I moved into my brother's guest room, temporarily needing space to think. Audrey and I agreed to minimal contact for 6 weeks, while we each worked on ourselves. I found a financial counselor who specialized in couples, attending sessions alone at first to understand my own relationship with money better. Surprisingly, an email arrived from Jessica, Audrey's friend, with the picture-perfect Hamptons wedding. She shared more details about her post-wedding financial nightmare, her husband working 2 jobs to manage the debt fights about money every week, the constant stress of trying to maintain the lifestyle their wedding had promised. We are considering bankruptcy, she confided. Was one perfect day worth years of struggling? I do not think so anymore. At work, I channeled my emotional energy into projects I had been neglecting, leading to an unexpected promotion. My boss cited my renewed focus and attention to detail, silver linings I never would have anticipated. 5 weeks into our separation, Audrey sent me a certificate of completion from a financial literacy course. First step of many, her note read. I felt a flutter of hope. Our first meeting was at a coffee shop, neutral territory. I barely recognized her at first. Gone was the designer outfit and perfectly styled hair. Instead, she wore simple jeans and a sweater, her hair pulled back naturally. No luxury handbag in sight. I have been doing a lot of thinking, she said after we exchanged awkward greetings, about what I really want versus what I thought I was supposed to want. She pulled out a notebook filled with budget worksheets and financial goals. I have been tracking every penny I spend. It is terrifying and liberating at the same time. Her apology was sincere and specific, acknowledging not just the venue incident, but the pattern of dishonesty about finances. I violated your trust in so many ways, she said. I would not blame you if you walked away for good. I had spent weeks establishing clear boundaries in my mind. I still love you, I told her. But love is not enough without trust and shared values. We developed a plan, 3 months of couples counseling, complete financial disclosure from both sides, and regular check-ins with a financial advisor. No wedding discussions until we had proven we could manage money together responsibly. Slowly, carefully, we rebuilt trust through small steps. We created a transparency system where we reviewed accounts together weekly. We practiced making financial decisions as a team, starting with small purchases and working up to bigger ones. When the topic of engagement came up again, I hesitated. The memory of those painful weeks still felt fresh. To my shock, Audrey suggested something I never expected. What if we had the ceremony at your parents' cabin on the lake? She asked. Just family and closest friends. I have been working on a budget $15,000 maximum. We could have something meaningful without the show. We sat down together to plan this new vision. No designer dress, no celebrity photographer, no luxury venue. Instead, we focused on what truly mattered, committing to each other surrounded by people who cared about us, not our Instagram potential. 6 months later, we stood on the dock of my family's modest lake cabin in Minnesota, exchanging vows as the sun set over the water. 40 guests witnessed our commitment sitting on rented chairs decorated with wildflowers picked that morning. My mother cried. My father beamed with pride. Audrey wore a simple white dress she found at a consignment shop. Our rings were the same ones we had originally chosen, symbols of promises nearly broken but ultimately renewed with deeper understanding. The reception took place under market lights strung between pine trees. We served my grandmother's famous fried chicken and my father's home-brewed beer. A friend's band played our favorite songs. The total cost came to $12,800 less than the deposit on the original venue. During the toasts, Audrey's father stood visibly emotional. "I want to apologize to my daughter and new son-in-law," he said, his voice breaking. "I taught Audrey the wrong lessons about what matters in life." Watching these two rebuild their relationship with honesty and realistic expectations has taught me more than 40 years in finance ever did. Our honeymoon was a 2-week road trip through national parks, staying in cabins, and cooking our own meals. We talked for hours around campfires, planning our future with both dreams and practical steps to achieve them. 1 year after our wedding, our relationship is stronger than I could have imagined during those dark days. We have built an emergency fund, paid off Audrey's credit cards, and are tackling her student loans. Most importantly, we can talk about money without fear or shame. Audrey found an unexpected passion in her experience. She started a side business as a wedding planning consultant, specializing in meaningful celebrations on realistic budgets. "I help couples focus on the marriage, not just the wedding," she explains to clients. "When friends get engaged, we share our story as a cautionary tale." Several have thanked us for the honesty that helped them avoid similar pitfalls. Jessica sadly did finalize her divorce. Audrey has been a supportive friend through the process, helping Jessica rebuild her financial independence. "Standing firm on my values was the hardest and best decision I ever made. It would have been easier in the moment to cave to pressure, to take out loans, to say yes to avoiding conflict. But those choices would have set a pattern for our entire marriage." Today, Audrey and I lead workshops for engaged couples about financial compatibility. We start each session by asking participants to complete this sentence: "In our marriage, money will be." The answers reveal so much about expectations and values. The strongest marriages we have learned are not built on perfect days, but on shared values that guide thousands of imperfect days. The fantasy of a dream wedding fades quickly. The reality of a true partnership, one based on honesty, mutual respect, and shared goals, only grows stronger with time. What do you think matters most in building a lasting relationship? Is it having the same financial values, or can couples with different money styles make it work? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life stories. Share this with any couples you know who might be planning their wedding. It might just save them from making a $300,000 mistake. Thanks for listening. And remember that sometimes the best decisions are the hardest ones to make.